Welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see so many of you here for today's session on a Friday afternoon. So I'm Daniela and I'm the project manager of the GRACE project. So thank you, Tiziana, for giving me the floor. Before I introduce today's speaker, Professor Letizia Cinganotto, and before we dive into her presentation, I'd like to give you a quick overview of how we'll be structuring today's session, which, as you know, is our first methodological webinar. Today's topic is teaching sustainability through debate. We'll start with a theoretical part led by Professor Cinganotto, followed by, as usual, by a question and answer session. And after a short 10-minute break, we'll move into a more interactive workshop session. Supporting us today during this workshop session, we have a great team of tutors that you can see on the screen. Luisa Broli, Jennifer Hill, Mike Orr, Ryan Licata, and Agostino Cambise, who will be here to help guide your discussions and interactions in your breakout rooms as needed. And Professor Letizia Cinganotto will also be joining one of the groups for further engagement. One last reminder, if you would like to receive a certificate of attendance, please rename yourself, because otherwise it will be impossible for us to identify you. Again, thank you for being here today. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Letizia Cinganotto, who will guide us through today's webinar. So Professor Cinganotto currently teaches language teaching at the University for Foreigners of Perugia, where she serves also as rectoral delegate for international relations. And she sits both on the governing board and the scientific council of the Center for Language Evaluation and Certification. She's also a member of the scientific committee of the CLIC Association, which brings together 4 certification bodies for the Italian language. She also participates in many working groups and scientific committees, both nationally and internationally. For example, she's part of the expert team at the European Center for Modern Languages of the Council of Europe, where she contributes to a project called Pluraliteracies Teaching for Deeper Learning. And in the past, she was also first researcher at INDIRE, the Italian National Institute for Documentation, Innovation, and Research in Education. As you can imagine, she also the author of numerous books and articles, including publications on the debate methodology. The title of her webinar today is Teaching Sustainability Through Debate, Fostering Critical Thinking and Dialogue Across Disciplines. Thank you very much, Professor Cinganotto, for joining us today. We're really looking forward to your insights on the debate methodology. I encourage everyone to make the most of this opportunity by taking notes, asking questions, and also participating in the discussion. So without further delay, the floor is yours, Professor Cinganotto. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you for this great opportunity, for inviting me to run this webinar. And of course, it's a pleasure for me to join this great community of participants. So as I was saying, I'm trying to share my screen and I would, yes, of course, I will tell you, sorry, okay. I will try to focus on some theoretical parts of the debate. I've been working a lot in terms of research, but also teaching. So debate as a teaching strategy. And I would like just to start with a very quick poll, just to ask you to express your idea of debate. So I would like to make this hour together a little bit interactive so that you can also contribute and express your ideas. So this poll is through Slido, so slido.com. You can easily use the QR code to enter, or just slido.com with the code that you can see on the screen. And then I would like, yes, just to ask you to say yes in Italian or in English. I see someone writing in Italian, but of course it's okay. To share your ideas that also could give us a little bit of a view over your experience, probably about debate. So the key word that's come up here is confronto, which is sharing or comparing, sharing ideas and opinions, which is of course fundamental, is an important keyword, because debate is just sharing different opinions, but in a structured way. So the definition of debate is just dialogue, a structured dialogue that is between two, of course, two different teams, the proposition team and the opposition team, following some certain rules. So what we normally say is that with debate, we have a sort of classroom discussion, because of course they will, I mean, students will discuss, but in a very structured way. So with some certain rules and with some certain timing as well. So yeah, I can see a lot of interesting, yes, as you can see, this is the tag cloud, and when you have the, I mean, most, let's say, popular answers, of course, in the middle, and the words which are bigger and can be read in the middle are the most popular, probably common ideas among you. So constant prose, yes, of course, we debate, we discuss constant prose, and we have this sort of what is called claim or motion, and you'll be also discussing about claim motions in the second part of this webinar. The motion is usually quite short, and sometimes also could be also provocative, and then this debate will be discussed among the participants in two teams, the proposition team and opposition team. Of course, is interactive. Of course, is recognition of others' minds view, as you are saying. Thank you so much for your answers, which are very insightful. Of course, is active listening, because with debate, we have our students be active, be listening and paying attention to the opponents, to the other team, so that they can react, and they can first of all activate what is called the rebuttal phase. So the first phase where they first, let's say, want to destroy, of course, in a constructive way, the opponent's position, and then they will draw on this to build up their own position. Empathy, rhetorical skills, finding common ground, which is very interesting. I like this answer. Thank you so much. Which brings me to tell you something about the competitive dimension of debate, because actually there's there are a lot of research on that, because sometimes it could be perceived as too competitive and maybe not so good in terms of dynamics and feelings, but actually it's not like that. I mean, of course, there's a sort of red thread, which has to do with the competition, which is of course a good sort of competition, but in the same time there's a lot of cooperative learning, a lot of group work, and finding common ground, for example, among the member of the teams. Normally teams are made up of three members, 3 or 4, and they have to work a lot. They have to discuss, to build up their own position, their argumentation, their position, be coherent among each other, and this is a very important dimension apart from, you know, the competition, because also in assessment there's not only the single, let's say, exhibition, a single talk of each speaker, but they are also assessed in terms of cooperation and strategy agreed upon within the team itself. So this is a very important aspect as well. Yes, so post arguments, critical thinking, which is wonderful. Of course, we debate. We want our students to develop their critical thinking. That's what we ask them to do, to think, to be creative, to be consistent with their own ideas, to defend their ideas with the evidence, with facts and figures, with argumentation. And what is important in a debate is just this research lab, which comes before the performance itself. That's the phase where they have to look for information, facts and figures, evidence, documents, and then starting from all this, the research lab, they will build their own, the position of the team and their argumentations. And of course, we have dialogue, and yes, I see a dialogue, constant, prostant, and interactive keywords that come out from this nice chat cloud. Interactive, of course, is very interactive and dynamic, and is an innovative teaching methodology that we can use to convey, you know, any content. So as a transversal tool for, you know, dialogue, to have dialogue, to make, you know, them also learn and co-construct content for any subject, so including, of course, sustainable issues, so what has to do with Agenda 2030 and green issues, of course. And this is a way to have them reflect together, and also to build up transversal projects, so interdisciplinary projects, because, for example, in Italy we have civics, which is compulsory, and we have, of course, for any school level, any school grade, and green issues are transversal in once again in any school level and grades, and debate can build this bridge among different subjects, among different teachers, and have them cooperate to organize these activities on green issues, for example. Okay, great. I can see some other very interesting, interesting answers, like democratic training, which is wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, of course, it's a democratic tool, and is just a very useful way to have them, yes, discuss in this sense, in this way, to be democratic and to reflect on this topic. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, I think I've read more or less, yeah, main words. So I would like now to go to I would like to show you just a very short video that we usually, maybe you're familiar with, maybe you've seen this, but just a very small part, because it's a sort of lead-in to this topic that we are discussing together. Maybe you tell me if it's okay. Yes, thank you so much.
I'm a storyteller, and I would like to tell you a few personal stories about what I like to call the danger of the single story. I grew up on a university campus in Eastern Nigeria. My mother says that I started reading at the age of 2, although I think 4 is probably close to the truth. So I was an early reader, and what I read were British and American children's books. I was also an early writer. And when I began to write at about the age of 7, stories in pencil with crayon illustrations that my poor mother was obligated to read, I wrote exactly the kinds of stories I was reading. All my characters were white and blue-eyed. They played in the snow. They ate apples. And they talked a lot about the weather, how lovely it was that the sun had come out. Now, this despite the fact that I lived in Nigeria, I had never been outside Nigeria. We didn't have snow. We ate mangoes, and we never talked about the weather because there was no need to. My characters also drank a lot of ginger beer because the characters in the British books I read drank ginger beer. Never mind that I had no idea what ginger beer was. And for many years afterwards, I would have a desperate desire to taste ginger beer. But that is another story. What this demonstrates, I think, is how impressionable and vulnerable we are in the face of a story, particularly as children.
Okay, I would like to start here. Just maybe you can watch the old video, which is very inspiring and moving. And just listening to show you my slides and to give evidence to what I would like to discuss with you, which is the role of debate as you were saying, a tool for democratic training and a tool for overcoming this danger of a single story, because that's actually what we want to do with our students when we organize this debating activities with them. We want them to reflect, to try to put themselves in the other's shoes, and to try to get out of their individuality, their single perspective, to embrace the other's perspectives, and so prevent this risk, let's say, this danger of a single story, which is actually the title of the video, the clip that I showed you, that gives really the meaning of how powerful it is for our students to use this discussion tools for reflecting together, and yes, in a democratic way, as you said, in a tech cloud. So I would like to start with Snyder definition. Snyder is called the father of debate. He wrote this code of the debater with a sort of ethic, different rules that a debater should somehow follow in any sort of debate. So debate is about change. We are constantly engaged in a struggle to better our lives, our community, our country, our world, and our future. We should never be satisfied with the status quo. Surely something in our lives needs improving. So debate is just a way to discuss and then to improve anything that we would like to improve in our lives. Just a topic, just a claim that we want to discuss is an improvement in itself. It's because, of course, we activate metacognition, meta-reflection, and somehow a small change will be implemented. And here, another interesting quotation: if we all speak out about what we think is wrong in society, we can change it. These are taken from a book on debate that I published, and in the end I will show you the cover, which is actually free. It was published by Pearson, and is free of charge. Debate and the little book on debate. Yes, it's just about change, because yes, improvement and change, because when we speak, when we just analyze the different aspects of the claim that we were discussing, it means somehow implement changes, even if small changes, even just in our growth mindset, is just a big change. It will become bigger and bigger. So as I was saying, the structure, the debate will follow some certain structure and timing and rules. So discussions are structured as with specific discussion format, and actually there are different formats in the literature. Of course, we don't have time to analyze all of them, but these are the main features of technically main features of debate: two opposing sides, the proposition team and the opposition team. respectful dialogue, because ethics is important, as Alfred Snyder says in this code of the debater. This ethics is fundamental to respect, and also in the the tone of voice and contact eye and eye contact, and also the of course aggression will be banned and would be of course judged in a negative way. So everything should be respectful. And research and preparation, as I was saying, is the first step, which is the research lab. So the phase where they will in teams will search for information, for data, for facts and figures, and to build on their strategy and their argumentation. Normally, for example, in competitions, what happens is that the topic and then the claim, of course, of the debate will be communicated sometimes earlier. There are actually two different forms. What is called the prepared debate, where they will receive the claim in advance, so that they have time to research, to make this this research laboratory, and what is called the impromptu debate. In this case, they will receive the topic and a claim just maybe a couple of hours before the performance. So in that case, it's just their knowledge and their feelings and their thoughts, because there's no time to make this research. That's something that for example we do in Italy in the what was called the Olympiad, the debate Olympiad, now championship, national championship, and I'm privileged to be member of the scientific committee. In this championship, what we do, we have three different tournaments. One is prepared debate, one is the impromptu debate in Italian, both of them, and then there's another tournament in English. Benefits for students. Actually, I have already mentioned some of them. Critical thinking is fundamental, of course. They analyze arguments, evaluate evidence, formulate their own reasoned positions, and they have to think. They have to be creative. They have to find the evidence. But what often happens is that they can defend positions that are not their own. I mean, they maybe it's not their own position, it's not what they really believe, which is this part of this exercise that develops global competencies as well, and this risk of this danger of a single story. So it's a sort of exercise, rhetorical exercise as well, as you were saying in the cloud, rhetorical skills. It means that they may have to defend positions which are not their own, because positions, pros and cons, or proposition, opposition, can be assigned by, for example, the judges, by the teacher, or it depends on the context. So, which is of course a powerful exercise for critical thinking. And what we found out, for example, when we interviewed students in schools in Italy, is that in the end they told us that actually they changed their mind. I mean, at the beginning they thought that there was not their position, but then after discussing, after searching for material and listening to the opponent's arguments and positions, they decided that actually it was a sort of prejudice at the beginning, and so they changed their mind after the debate, which is really a great success. And then effective communication, problem solving, of course, which is a part of debating strategies, and especially for green issues and sustainable, related with sustainable goals. This is very important because it's a way to have them think of possible solutions to the problems that we want them to discuss. And of course, in terms of critical thinking, we are recalling here the Bloom taxonomy with the lower order thinking skills and the higher order thinking skills, but at the same time using what is called the languaging. The famous linguist Swain talks about languaging, which is actually this process of, expressing one's opinions, one's ideas. And here you can see both of them together, and that's what we do with debate. We have them reflect, have them exercise their critical thinking skills in terms of, easier and more difficult. So lots and odds, so what I call lots and odds, lower order and higher order thinking skills. But at the same time, of course, they can practice the language, which is the L1, the L2, or so that their native their home language or a foreign or second language, and it is always a great exercise in terms of style of register, and of course we have a lot of potential in this as well. In terms of critical thinking skills, once again, analyzing information, asking questions, constructing arguments, and problem solving again. That's what we ask them to do when when they have to prepare for a debate, which is an exercise for studying, researching, and so also in terms of content. In some cases, teachers can also assess debates as an alternative way for interrogazione, we say in Italian, for oral testing, for example. They just assess debate because it's a creative way to elaborate and express the content I've learned, but in this very interactive way. And of course, asking questions, there's a specific format where questions are more or less compulsory or assessed with positive, scores. And asking questions means showing interest and this active listening to just interact with an debate. And constructing arguments, of course, that's part of the team job. They have to be coherent and assign to different members of the teams their role. In terms of effective communication, we already mentioned active listening, constructive dialogue, persuasion, and argumentation, which is fundamental. So they, as a part of the style, the register that they would use, but also the strategy that they adopt. And of course, there are a lot of exercises especially in competitive debate, because the ultimate goal is, of course, to persuade the jury, for example, and then to win, so that of course the team will win. And this is important, to how to organize the argumentation according to persuasive style. And verbal and non-verbal communication, because of course it's also important to use non-verbal communication. There was eye contact and also gestures, body position. So what has to do with the body language, that's also important to communicate and to show, strong belief in their own ideas, and is part of the strategy as well. With debate, we foster oracy, of course. So we foster speaking skills and argumentation skills. So it's it can be a sort of public speaking when they are involved in their specific talk, but at the same time, according to this oracy framework by oracy 21, we have this holistic approach, because of course we involve our students in terms of, you know, physical dimensions, so voice, body language, as we were saying. At the same time, we activate their thinking skills, so the cognitive dimension, the social emotional dimension, because they work together in teams. They must be confident in speaking. They must adopt a respectful tone of voice and style, and so on. And linguistic, because the language is fundamental. The use of the language, of course, is peculiar as fundamental. When constructing the arguments, this is what normally the exercise that is somehow suggested as a social practice, which follows this structures that is called PEAL. Which is the acronym for point, explanation, evidence, or example, and link. So this is, you know, exercise that normally coach can organize with debaters, of course, considering professional competitions in particular, but this structure can be followed also for any sort of exercise in class as just, you know, preparation to the performance. So the point is a statement in favor or against the claim with an explanation, and then giving, you know, example, facts and figures to this point, and then in the end a connection, just to conclude, to end up with a connection going back to the you know, to the point, so that it could be a sort of, you know, so a sort of autonomous piece of discussion, building the specific argument within the debate. Yes, once again, talking about collaborative problem solving, I was just mentioning this collaborative dimension of debate, which is not only individual performance. It's not only, you know, the single debater that, of course, will be assessed according to some specific rubrics, but there's also a lot of cooperative work and dialogue and co-constructing meaning and arguments within each team. Normally in the literature, we distinguish two different let's say, category of debates: the formative debate and the competitive debate. The formative debate is just the debate as a teaching strategy that we can use in our class at any school level, at any grade, for any subject, for green issues, from in any language. So it's just a teaching strategy which is very flexible, and of course will just follow some certain structures, some certain timing, according also to the lesson and you know, the constraints of the schedule that we have in our classes, of course, but it's very, very flexible. And in this case, we use a lot of argumentation drills, we use a lot of exercises, a lot of preparation games, and there's a wonderful website that I would recommend you to visit, which is ESU, English Speaking Union, which is the great association spreading debate all over the world as a mission. And there are a lot of activities, lesson plans, and resources, games to prepare your students to debate. Of course, in Italy as well, we have our own website, Indire. I used to work as Indire senior researcher, and we developed our own website. You find debate within Indire, website. So informative debate, we have, these are just some examples of games. So we have just this flexibility, we have preparation games, and we have also the the performance that can be organized according to specific times, according to different roles we want to assign to our students, because of course the aim is to involve as many students as possible in formative debate. So probably you can have more debaters. For example, we can also have 5 debaters, for example, because the perspective, the ultimate gate is in inclusion, to be democratic and inclusive, and so just to involve as many roles, as many students as possible. This is a very famous example of a preparation game for debate, which is the balloon debate that can be also used for CLIL, for content, discussing content subjects, and it's just deciding the different characters that are left on a stranded island, and this balloon will save not all of them, but just the best, the ones who would be able to persuade the jury that they need to be saved. So there could be the different passengers at different roles. That could be belonging to, coming from history, from science, from politics, from whatever. And what counts here is just this speech that will be that must be persuasive in order to be saved. This is a competitive debate. With competitive debate there's a completely different perspective. So everything is very strict. There are rules, there are times, there are jury, some certain rules. There's a code, and there's so everything is strict. And this is the most famous format, which is the World School Debate. That's the most common format used for competitive debate. You see the opposition team, proposition team, opposition team. You have 3 members for each team, the chairperson, timekeeper, and you see the different 8 minutes for each session, for each speech, which is a lot. And that is why, normally in this formal debate, students will receive the topic and the claim maybe 1 or 2 months earlier, so they can have time to fill in these 8 minutes with arguments, with facts and figures and evidence in the research lab. And so this is the flow of the competitive debate with the final speech, which is 4 minutes long. Debate, of course, for language learning and for CLIL, I'm going quick on this, because is a way for practicing the language, that is the L1, so the home language, or foreign second languages, for discussing content, culture, communication, and cognition, which are the 4 C's of CLIL methodology: content and language integrated learning. So just discussing green issues, for example, is a wonderful example of CLIL topics. And of course, with Agenda 2030, with the Sustainable Development Goals, the idea is, to have them in terms of task-based learning and project-based learning, identifying challenges, explore solutions, and advocate for change is what actually we want them. We want our students, to do in our classes, because the idea is to have them develop their critical thinking skills, to explore solutions, and to think for possible, improvement and change that they can, of course, discuss during the debate. Here just some examples in our debate in our championship in Italy, the national championship that was launched in 2017 by the Italian Ministry of Education, together with the debate association and also a school and a school network. Normally, the topic you can find, if you're interested, you can surf Olimpiadi Nazionali del Debate, and there are all the recordings of the previous sessions starting from 2017, and there are also, I was saying also the English tournament. Normally, topics and claims are related to green issues, and these are just some examples, and that's what is really helpful for our students in terms of civics as well. Exploring social equity and justice. I already mentioned this global perspective, this diverse pluri perspective that is just this sort of risk of a single story. So the sooner the better, when they reflect, they discuss, and they try to overcome this danger of single story. In the future, it would be a good preparation for the future citizenship of the world. In terms of, economic development and growth, these are different, topics that could be also discussed in a debate. The topic is just, the area, let's say, the general area that could be within a subject, but could be also transversal, could be as green issue, for example. And then starting from the topic, the claim will be developed. The claim is, as I was saying, a short, normally quite short, normally positive sentence, and sometimes also provocative, and is a sentence that that is debatable, in a sense that there should be the possibility to discuss pros and cons, because in some cases, which is not so easy. Maybe we'll discuss it in the workshop, and you'll experience yourself. It's not so easy actually to identify the right claim, first of all, for your class, for your target group, and in line with your program or syllabus or content that you want to teach, or in our case, the green issues. You have to be sure that is a sentence that where they will find enough facts and figures, enough studies and documents to be mentioned, both in favor and against. So both sides should be debatable, so fundamental. Yes, just once again, how to incorporate green issues, Agenda 2030 green issues in particular, into lesson plans. This is a possible, development according to project-based learning method, which is actually a project that we are asking them to do as an ultimate goal within our activity. What is important is to establish clear topics and claims, to define a format and set rules at the beginning, because of course, timing can change, and also roles can change. So it's fundamental to define all the rules at the beginning. Sometimes teachers will assign roles. Sometimes they will ask in a formative debate, we'll ask students to decide to self-assign role and maybe to decide which team to belong to. But everything should be, of course, decided and be clear at the beginning for, establish clear expectations for respectful discourse, active listening, and constructive feedback, which is fundamental to be set at the beginning. Yes, once again, tips for effective moderation and facilitation. Normally, teach in informative debate, teacher acts as a coach, as a facilitator, and this is also the revolutionary, let's say, aspect of this technique, which is that the teacher will step a little bit back, step back and give the students the floor. They are the real protagonists. And for example, chairs and chairman and a timekeeper, they will arrange. Teacher will only assign roles, and then they can organize everything. I mean, just acting as a real protagonist, encouraging participation and time management. So this is, the revolutionary dimension, because it's a real way to make them feel the protagonist of their learning pathway. In terms of assessment, we can, of course, assess their participation and their learning in informative debate. As I was saying, a lot of teachers use this technique also for assessment as an alternative way to a test, to a formal test, for example. They can use, of course, rubric, observation, self-assessment, peer feedback, and normally this is, of course, informative debate. In competitive debate, there are professional judges, professional jury, and they follow some certain rubrics, in particular according to 3 fundamental criteria, which are style, content, and strategy. So the content, the argumentation that the different teams, actually, as I was saying, the rubric will assign score to each single debater, but strategy will also take into account this cooperative work. So strategy must be negotiated, so that they will have to be coherent and not to contradict each other, and to make, for example, reference to previous speech or anticipate what will come next. So this is part of the strategy that is also assessed by the jury. And of course, content is facts and figures, argumentation, and so on. And style is the register and the way they will express their thoughts and their positions. Also, nonverbal language, as I was saying. Also, body language, and this is all part of the assessment. Will be, of course, the final score will be summed, and then the winning team will be declared. Just running towards the end to mention some tools where you can also have your students practice debate online, distance debate. This was very common, of course, during the pandemic, and Chialo is one of the best known tool for debating online, because you can create your own session. So teacher will create their own session, which is closed somehow, so protected, because you can bring your students here and let them discuss on topics that and claim that you will launched here. Here you have an example: a social media platform should not be regulated by the government. Is an example of claim, and you see in green and in orange the flow of the discussion with pros and cons. So in this case, they it's a written debate, and in some cases it's also used as a sort of preparation for the oral debate. So they now, for example, as I was saying, it was common during the pandemic, but now it's also very useful, of course, but it can also be used as a draft, as a brainstorming in writing, and then also to collect, for example, links, facts and figures, and different documentation, and then there will be the oral, let's say, performance starting from this first, brainstorming. There's also a very interesting tool of the different function of this platform. That's the international debating session, where there are professional debaters and judges who will launch claims, so a debating session in English, where students from every part of the world can join. So in this case, it's free. There's no, your students can join any session, any topic launched that they like, just to practice, for example, and they will, write in English, and of course they will find friends, let's say, debaters from all over the world. So this is the English-speaking union website that I mentioned, that I strongly recommend you to see, to surf, because it's really wonderful. You can find a lot of initiatives, also training initiatives, but a lot of materials, lesson plans, exercises, games to incorporate into your lesson, and it's a real starting point also for our research work at Indire. We took a lot of inspiration from this website. This is my book, The Little Guide to Debate. As I said, it's actually it's only a paper version. It's a booklet which is in English, and it's free, published by Pearson. So maybe if you're interested, you can write to me, and I can put you in touch with the person in charge with this book, which is also as also links with green issues and sustainability, and as I was saying, it's just free of charge. This is my email, and of course I will be happy to I will be here, of course, and now for the Q&A, and then for the workshop, or if you want to note down my email and write me, I will be happy to read you and answer you, of course. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. I think timing was okay, right? Just 6 o'clock. So I tried to rush. I'm so sorry, maybe it was too fast, maybe sort of bombarding, but I try to make my best to be in time.
Yeah, that was perfect, I think, not just for the timing, actually, but also because of the richness of your presentation. So thank you very much. I like the way you stress the importance of overcoming the danger of a single story. And actually, as a philosopher, I really believe this is our main and fundamental goal as educators. And indeed, debate and critical thinking are the very essence of philosophy itself, from the times of Plato to our time. And it's also the real basis of active citizenship, the very fact of being part of a community and of taking action together. And you have also clearly shown how debating can train different skills, so language skills, but also emotional skills or problem solving. But you have also shown how this methodology can easily build bridges between different fields. And I think this is particularly valuable for citizenship education, but also for tackling these cross-cutting issues. And actually, the climate crisis is precisely this kind of issues. And actually, this is also the reason why we have decided to start our series of methodological webinars with this methodology, because debating is particularly suitable for raising awareness of the environmental crisis, its impacts, but also, hopefully, its solutions. So thank you really for for your insights on the methodology.
The opportunity.
And I am sure we all have some questions, some thoughts, and maybe also some, clarification to ask you, for instance, about the very structure of emotion. So maybe we will also ask you to develop and to add some details about that, given that it will be at the center of the second part of our workshop today. So I will now hand over to one of our tutors, Jennifer Hill, to chair the question and answer session. And again, thank you on my part.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much for all of the valuable insights that you shared with us into debate, and the practical ideas and tools too. I mean, as teachers, we're always looking for takeaways that we can take straight into the classroom. So thank you for that. If you have any questions, you can write them into the chat, or you could use the emoji hand. I think that's quite a good way to do this. Down at the bottom of your screen, you should have a reaction button. Previously, it had an emoji face on it. I think a recent update has changed it to a heart. So if anyone would like to ask a question, please feel free to write it into the chat or to use the reaction button. And okay, well, as we, okay, oh, here's one. Here we go. So Patrick Ferrick says, thank you for the presentation. Would you say that debate as a teaching method is restricted to a certain age range of students?
Well, actually, no, I would say that, well, it's not me actually saying that, but research, and also because we experienced it, we saw with our eyes, and so as I was saying, I used to be a senior researcher at Indire, and we have this debate as part of our educational research mission, and so we visited a lot of schools, starting even from pre-primary. So we saw a lot of children debating in Italian, in English, starting from maybe primary and also lower secondary, upper secondary. Of course, everything will be adjusted to the age of the student. So first of all, with younger children, we want, for example, in primary, we won't have a lot of research. Maybe some when they are in Italy, maybe in fourth and fifth year. Otherwise, is just a first approach to debate, and a first, a lot of games, preparation game. And I mentioned some of, I showed you some of them. There are so many examples, of course, depending on the different, target group. And so the sooner the better. So these exercises are helpful, even if it's not the performance itself, but games like the debate, for example, is very popular among children with the cartoon, for example, characters, or other different characters. These exercises, these games are powerful as well. I mean, maybe you will experience the full debate, the full session, maybe later on, but it's anyway a first approach which is also useful. And so with younger children, is just a matter of their guiding them to first of all to express themselves, to overcome the fear to be judged, to express in public, even if it's so only their class. But when they are so young, it's so difficult for us as adults to express in public, to talk in public. But when we encourage them to do as early as possible is a good start. And so research will be the real research laboratory, as it is called, may be implemented, with maybe lower secondary, upper secondary, where they have to, really find information, facts and figures, and so everything changed. Of course, timing will change. Of course, in primary, for example, we saw a lot of examples of debate sessions with involving all the students in the class, with emoticon, with smile. So they it's a sort of popular jury, and so they just ended up their smile to assess, to express their vote, for example. No, so it's very creative with the younger children, and they have fun, of course. And then in lower secondary, upper secondary, it can be more serious, let's say, in sense of structured, and depending on the aim of the teacher, it could be assessed, it could be just maybe a revision of the content that I've learned, or maybe transversal projects like in civics or whatever. So it depends. But yes, I can say that debate is powerful and useful at any school grade and level.
Okay, thank you. Just after Patrick wrote his question, Louisanna wrote that she also thanks you for your interesting hints. And I think you've answered most of her question, but just in case you have anything to add, she did also ask about debate being practicable at lower levels, and what kind of scaffolding is necessary to activate, not only in terms of language, but methodology and technique. And so I wanted to present that to you to make sure that there wasn't anything else you might want to add.
Yeah, of course. Well, scaffolding, first of all these games, all this preparation activities or games, or that could be also embedded into the lesson at any at any stage. These are somehow scaffolding that can be considered scaffolding, because they are preparation and a guide towards maybe the full debate. But also in terms of language, of course, and you can find in my book some example of language for debating, because yes, especially if it's a second or third language, but it's any also in the L1, also in the home language, it's important to work maybe before, and give them the language for debating. There's also the style, the register. It's what we call the CALP, the cognitive academic language proficiency, which is this mastery of the language in terms of style, of register, when talking about content, compared to BICS, which is the basic interpersonal communication skills, which is the use of the language in a daily life conversation. It's another story. So with debate, we encourage them, starting from BICS, we encourage them to develop their CALP, their abilities to use a more formal style, and also this sort of what I call the language frame. So structure, like or typical starting typical starters, like I agree, I disagree, I would say differently, I would there are a lot of different options that, and once again depends on the level, depends on the grade. This sort of exercise should be, of course, done in advance. So it all and embedded maybe in the language lesson in L1 or L2 and so on. And in terms of technique, to practice the argumentation skills, I showed you the PIL structure, which is a good way to do that. I mean, they can practice the it's a sort of exercise of building the argumentation following the 4 steps that I showed you. And also, you know, this in terms of timing, for example, you can start at the beginning with 1 minute, because you will see if you never tried, first time, you will see how difficult for them is to talk even for 1 minute at the beginning, no? Because especially if it's just a sort of impromptu. So maybe you can start with 1 minute, then it can be longer, and then you know, these are steps that you can follow in terms of scaffolding.
Okay, thank you. So this question is from Marco. What about debating on sensitive topics? Could it be useful or just dangerous and thus be avoided? And then he says, I think a debate on it, by the way, could be done with pros and cons. So your thoughts on sensitive topics?
Well, I don't know, because it depends on, first of all, it depends on the classroom. So the teacher knows if, for example, the classroom and the dynamics, it depends on the topic, of course, but the dynamics and also the background and also particular situations of the students, of course. I would avoid topic, you know, involving any of them directly, for example, or so. First of all, I would consider all the, you know, the cover on the possible bias or the possible dangers, let's say. And then I think we may try. So of course, it could be a sort of action research, trying to maybe guide them. Yeah, what we, for example, in the especially early stage, what is done as a sort of preparation is sort of brainstorming. So just mentioning together and eliciting from them possible pros and cons to that particular claim, and making, for example, mentioning examples and consequences, you know, for both the positions, which will be somehow sort of, you know, a softer approach than to the discussion. I think it may be risky, of course, because it depends, you know, on the and also another thing that I would do is to maybe inform families beforehand, because as we know, families can misunderstand, or can be, I don't know, cannot fully understand this exercise, let's say. So maybe could be involved and or at least informed. So yeah, we can try, but being very sensitive, very careful since the beginning. But yes, could be very powerful exercise.
Okay. The next question is from Maria Barbara, and she asks how to tackle emotiveness in students. For example, how to have shy students overcome their difficulties in speaking without forcing them. And she asks about what kind of preparatory training is needed for this type of student.
Well, yes, this is the sense of sorry, these games that I mentioned, which are actually all the exercises for sorry, for helping them overcome this shyness. And there are, for example, there's a very nice game which is very popular, especially at lower level, which is called the game of the emotion, something like that. We use it a lot in Italy, but I think it's quite common, where they have to practice to say, for example, they a certain motion that has been launched by the teacher. in different tone of voice, different expressions, also involving nonverbal, so body language and so on. So they are in a circle, 7, 8 of them, and they will stand up. So the first will stand up and will say aloud, will speak out loud the claim with let's say a weak tone of voice, considering a certain mood, a certain emotion. So, for example, we start with, let's say, happy. No, so starting, the first one will speak aloud the claim in timid and shy, so level of happiness, and then will sit down. Then the second one will do the same, but increasing, being happier, with including, as I was saying, tone of voice, but also gestures or body language. Maybe they will jump, or they will, and because this is the mood, this is the emotion involved. And the last one of this summer circle will, end up with an explosion of joy, of happiness, and so on. The same thing with maybe a sadness, maybe to be sad, to be angry, to be starting from a weak level of anger till being furious. So this is a way to just it's a game that the students like a lot, especially younger students, because they are encouraged to express these emotions through their voice associated to the motion, but also, yes, with body language and so on. Yes, all these exercises are helpful to this extent, to prepare them to speak in, of course, it takes time. So that's why I was talking about this easy exercise, which actually won't take too long. So it can be easily embedded into the lesson, maybe at the end where they're tired, towards the end of the, the class, where there's maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes left. And it's a way to, involve them, and at the same time gradually prepare them to, to public speaking, which is actually the ultimate goal of debate.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question has to do with research, and I was actually thinking about this too. Katya wants to thank you for your useful insights, and she asks, do you think students in grades 6 to 8 are capable of dealing with research on a given issue on their own? Or would it be better to hand them selected material, maybe a link or other texts?
Yeah, that's what usually what teachers do. So first of all, as I said, with younger students, research is very limited. So it's just their memories. So they will mention, their memories, maybe facts about stories, about their friends, about their parents, something which is personal, related to their personal sphere, because we know that that's something that they can do at their age. And we can start grade 5, grade 6, maybe grade 7, this sort of research lab. And what a lot of teachers do at the beginning is a sort of web quest. So they suggest, they give them maybe paper materials in some cases, or books, or content, or files to guide them there, this research phase. Or in some cases, what they do is, first they guide, giving them suggestions, giving them links to surf the web in a careful, secure way. And then, for example, gradually, what they could do is to keep track feedback of this laboratory, and for example asking them to in a Google Drive, in a Google or in some other way, to write the link to the website that they, for example, that they found and they are analyzing, so that the teacher has an overview of this research phase, this research lab, and can have also control, no, on the different websites that they are using, so that can maybe intervene and say, well, no, this website is not good, so don't use it, don't go there, and this is sort of, you know, control in especially when they are, of course, younger. Then this is a, you know, progression towards their autonomous research lab. But at the beginning, yes, of course, it's useful that the teacher will guide them, first maybe giving directly materials or website suggestions, I mean direct suggestion website to be served, and then checking, so having this sort of control, which is, you know, just because they may not be aware of possible websites that are not proper for their age or for whatever.
Okay, thank you. I realize that some of you may have noticed that I skipped a few questions, and I'm saving those for the very end of our Q&A. So I think we have one more question, and then I'll go back to the questions I skipped, but I did that because they're related to what we're going to do next. Okay, I kind of lost my place for a moment. Sorry. Laura was also asking about scaffolding and CLIL, but she thanked you down below, so I think her question was answered. So Maria Luisa asked, how many students do you think each team should be in a competitive debate?
Okay, so the normally the World School Championship debate that I mentioned, which is the most common format for competitive debate, includes three speakers, three debaters for each team, so 3 and 3, and they have one turn, one speech for each, as I showed you, 8 minutes long for each, and one of them for each team will have a double time, double speech, which is the final ringa is called, no? The final reply. That's half the time, so it's 4 minutes. Normally 3 is more or less the standard for a competitive debate, and they also, with the help of the coach, they can decide who will run this extra the final ringa, which is very important, because it's a sort of, you know, in the final ringa they won't add any further information, any further content, but it's just a wrap up. You know, they also need to be able to make a very powerful synthesis of what has been said, and you know, collect all the different information and data, because this is the, you know, the final move to the for the jury to decide, you know, the winner. But yeah, normally is 3 with one of them running an extra, I mean the final, so two speeches. Then informative debate, you can choose, you can decide, you can have 4 or 5, because in informative debate in class, what you want to do is to involve as many students as possible, no? And so maybe you can have 5, you can have 6, it depends also on time you have. But yes, informative is everything soft and flexible, while in competitive normally is 3. 3, maybe in some formats it's 4, but the commonly is 3.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is going to bring us to our last 2 questions. They're related before we have a break. I'm sorry to those of you whose questions we won't get to, but you know, Letizia shared her email with us, so I'm sure that you could email her too.
No, I already am receiving a lot of emails, so thank you so much.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I will answer you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Okay, so this brings us to Louisa and Riza's questions, and they're both about motions. So Louisa asks, first of all, thanks a lot. Could you please give us some suggestions about creating or choosing a motion? And then Riza, seconds later, wrote, what are the most important criteria for phrasing the motion? So I don't know how much information you want to give us at this point, because that is going to lead us into the interactive part of this workshop. But
yeah, maybe you
we'll
yourself will find the answer at the end of the of the workshop. Yeah, but actually, there's no, let's say, blueprint now for emotion. First of all, you need to identify the topic, so the area, the subject topic that is in your goals, in your agenda, of course. And then the claim will be something that is not given for granted, something that is not, let's say, just self-evident and not debatable. So this is the starting point. So you need to find a short, normally a short sentence that and the question that you as a teacher should ask yourself to prove, let's say, the soundness of a motion is it debatable both in favor or against? Can my student find enough argumentation, pros and cons? Will they find facts and figures? Will they find anything to say? Because of course, if you cannot answer these questions, it's a failure. I mean, it's not a good motion. But apart from that, I mean, there's no blueprint, let's say, but just this sort of exercise that you will do before to somehow prove the soundness of the motion.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is going to bring us to the end of our Q&A session. We are now going to take a break for 10 minutes. We'll all come back at 6:40, and we will be working together in breakout rooms on an interactive exercise. So let's meet back here in 10 minutes and see you then.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to recharge a little bit. Now we're moving into a brief interactive part of our session where you'll have a chance to apply what we've discussed so far. In this part, feel free to share your ideas and collaborate with each other. Our facilitators, Luisa, Jennifer, Ryan, Mike, and Agostino are here to guide and support you. And also Professor Cinganotto will join our groups. To kick off our workshop, we'll be sharing a short video, and this will introduce some ideas and some perspectives that you'll be able to further explore in your breakout rooms. So I would kindly ask Agostino to please share the video with us.
Yes. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see it and you can hear it.
Finally tonight, activists are turning to a new form of protest to call attention to the climate crisis. Over the past few months, climate protesters have targeted priceless works of art, making for viral moments that grab attention, but is the message getting through? Tonight, we look at how these polarizing protests could be both helping and hurting the fight against climate change. Visitors at the National Gallery in London stood stunned as two young activists glued themselves beneath an exhibit of Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers.
What is worth more, Art or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice?
The protest went viral, making international headlines. The environmental activists demand no new oil or gas licenses from the British government. Emma Brown, a spokesperson for Just Stop Oil, the group responsible, says the shock factor is intentional.
There is that moment where someone goes, oh, security, and that kind of outrage that people feel is justified. It is shocking what we're doing. If we take action that people can ignore, so if we stood in a park somewhere with some placards and people didn't know about it, it didn't disturb them, they didn't even hear about it, that would be a completely ineffective form of protest.
And these protesters are not alone. In the Australian capital of Canberra, activists scrawled blue marker across an Andy Warhol painting.
We're in a climate emergency.
Outside Berlin, protesters flashed mashed potatoes across the work of Claude Monet. And in Paris, one of the world's most famous artworks, the Mona Lisa, smeared with cake. Each time, bystanders were left in disbelief. And headlines followed. But in the media coverage, most of the protests were reduced to acts of vandalism.
I think it's interesting because that artwork was not vandalized, it had a sheet of glass on it. So really what everyone was becoming so outraged about was a bit of soup thrown on a piece of glass. And unfortunately, there's no pane of glass protecting the life support systems that we need to survive, There's no pane of glass protecting the people in Pakistan from the devastating flooding. There's no pane of glass protecting the 146 million people in Africa that are suffering like drought-related starvation.
Okay, so I'm happy to hand the floor very briefly back to Professor Cinganotto, who will provide a brief overview of your task for the breakout rooms.
Yeah. Just actually, I would like, first of all, I would like to thank in advance the tutor for this for organizing this activity, which is which gives us the opportunity also to give you the floor and have you as active participant in this second part of this activity, the webinar. So starting from this video, the idea is just to discuss, and then now the tutors will give you further details. So to just start thinking about possible motions starting from this idea, and that's what actually is common in our classes. Now, to start with the video as an input, and the video will just make the frame and the background of the starting point also of the activity, and then the motion could be just negotiated, and could start from brainstorming, a starting discussion, and so it's once again a way to have our students lead the activity and feel as the real protagonist, because the motion could come from this discussion, this brainstorming in the class, maybe after watching a video. So the idea is just starting from this video to reflect on possible motions and what could be the best motion to suit our classes to discuss green issues and in general as a way of negotiating and reach to the best motion to discuss. But now I will give the floor to the wonderful tutors who are and the organization have been working a lot on organizing things and dividing in breakout rooms. So I would be happy to just listen to your discussion and in the end to see what comes out. Thank you so much.
Yes, and the topic links very nicely with the previous webinar, if any of you has attended that, where we have also discussed this idea of activism and climate change. So we're now going to split you into breakout rooms. Once you're in your rooms, please take a moment to introduce yourself to your partners in the room, and then your tutor will tell you how to proceed, and I hope you enjoy the discussions. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. It's very cruel to interrupt your work and your discussion. Sorry, we're well aware of that. So I hope you and I was told that you had some engaging discussions in your groups and in your breakout rooms. I would kindly ask one person per group to copy and paste their motion in the chat, and if you could write the name of your group. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, so that we can discuss your motions with Professor Cinganotto. I'm going to copy and paste my group's motion in the chat. Okay, so the motions are in the chat. I can see Group 2. So maybe Professor Cinganotto, maybe you could start commenting the first one. And
Yes. First of all, yeah, I would like to say that I had the opportunity to stay in Group 1 actually, but I guess that was all the same for the other groups as well. The discussion was very fruitful, and they were all engaged. So this is what the spirit of the activity. So yeah, wonderful. Well, especially I would like to refer the criteria that were discussed, and I would like to highlight. So the length. So when the claim is too long, maybe it's not so effective, because should be just short and effective, in the sort of, let's say, slogan, So maybe here would be my comment about length, because when it's too long, it's also difficult to fully understand, because what usually is done at the beginning of the discussion by both the very first contribution, very first speech of the first debater, is to make a sort of definition. So what we mean by this, what we mean by when it's too long, it's complicated to do like that. So they normally identify one or two keywords in the motion, and they are defined. Defined not in the sense the sense that they make a sort of a dictionary, but their own definition. So how this house, which is the formal imitating the parliamentary houses. This house believes that it's a sort of fixed formula for official debate, competitive debate. Normally, it's the definition of the meaning given by this house, by this team. And when it's too long, it's complicated to define, because there maybe it's misleading, and maybe more than one or two keywords too complicated. So this is my comment. And also the other comment that was made is that some of them were too vague, and this is crucial. So too vague and difficult to be to find argumentations to defend or to destroy, let's say. So I would start, Group 2. This house believes that students could skip one period of biology classes and express their concern from climate change by planting trees in a city park, so a bit too long, I would say. And yes, the also this connection between could well, and also because normally in the claim it's better to say something like should, no? So this house should, this house believes that they should do that, and it comes easier to, you know, think about not, should not, must not. So instead of could, which is, you know, less strong to counter argument, no? So that's why normally the idea is to, let's say, make stronger, you know, the poles, which are easier to argument and counter argument. So I would put this should, and also this, it's too complicated, too, you know, too difficult to justify this link between skipping the class and then express the concern, and then planting trees. So I mean, the idea is good. I would rephrase it in a shorter way, and maybe something like this house believes that biology classes should be substituted with planting trees in a city park, something like that, you know? So which makes it more effective, shorter, and so it would be like, you know, that should biology classes should be abolished and substituted by, or substituted, something like that. So in this way, the pros and cons. So the pros, the proposition is, yes, we are in favor of, you know, active things, laboratory, and, you know, active citizenship, something that I can really do, and so on. While the opposition would be, well, no, only, well, okay, the practical things, the active, proactive actions, but all theory and principles and ethics and moral and, you know, discussion and is missing, would lack. So we would need theory and, you know, so something like that. I'm just inventing, no? So I would rephrase this in this way. I don't know if you agree, and especially group 2, you may want to comment, because sorry, I missed your discussion, so maybe you want to add something about that.
No, I think it's okay. Hi, everybody. I think I agree with your comments.
Okay, thank you. Group 3, this house believes the civil disobedience is justified when no property damage is involved. This house believes that civil disobedience is not is the same, no? No, when others are armed. Okay, yeah. So which is the opposite, more or less. Justify when no property damages, well, something like that. When others are armed, yeah, okay. Well, this is good. I think it's quite well, right, land, and also yeah, the condition, yeah, because the in this case, this house believes the civil disobedience is justified. This is not justified. Of course, would be difficult to defend. No, would be because of course you would say no, civil disobedience is. It is not a good thing, no? So how would you defend this? How would you say the opposite, no? So this is something that also is to be considered when you make the statements like, you know, like slogan, and in some cases it's not possible to say, or at least, you know, you may force too much and invent something which is not real, and it's not ethics, it's not moral, and you wouldn't do that. Like, of course, it's because then, well, something also that I forgot to tell you before is that in the formative debate, what is often organized in at the end of so when the performance, let's say, is finished, it's what is called the debriefing moment, the briefing phase. Now, when the teacher will run an informal discussion, just, you know, apart from the structure of the debate, going in deeper into the content, into the values, into the, you know, the ethics, into what has come out of the different speeches. So this is a real formative moment, and there you can say, you know, you can highlight maybe the arguments that have been mentioned and that are not fully morally justified. That could be maybe they were extremely defended, and but actually, I mean, you can go into the detail and discuss with them and lead them maybe towards the right, let's say, way, or maybe something which is more acceptable, something like that. So this is something that is done aside, I mean, at the end of the debate. So of course, in this case, it's I really like this condition, let's say, provided that something like that which limits the you know, the area of the sentence which per se couldn't be you know, justified. Okay, I don't know if group 3 would add something to that. Maybe not.
Well, maybe can I just, yeah, we
Sure.
actually took some time to, you know, to decide between us. I mean, what is meant by damaging? You know, damaging, does making works of art dirty include, you know, is that damaging or not? I mean, because, you know, what activists did, they didn't actually damage paintings because these paintings were actually in cases that were protected. Actually, it wasn't real damage. It was just making something dirty.
And that's, yes, actually, that's what is meant when I said, you know, definition. So the first, normally the first speech is just in this direction. So, for example, not taking one keyword. So it will say, they will say, first of all, we would like to start by defining what we mean by the word damage. No, so and in this case you can say, well, we mean that damage is when, for example, you don't hurt anyone, you don't, so you give your own way, you know. So, and this is, yeah, actually what you highlighted, which is perfect in line with this sort of definition phase at the beginning. Great. The other one, group 1, is okay. I like it. This is a very valid way of. Okay, maybe in this case, yes, I would use something to extreme, to make it a little bit, you know, extreme, like is the best way, no? So so that it's easier to say, well, no, it's not the best way. No, it's no. Because otherwise that is a bit vague, you know, because making extreme position, different poles, proposition, opposition makes it easier. Great. It also believes that environmental disobedience is justified as long as it doesn't damage public property. Yeah, which is quite similar to the other one, which is okay, we said, yeah. And in your group motion, which is this is the first one, isn't a part of science program in school, but my personal idea is the civil. But is it a claim or personal idea is important to change. Okay, a possible claim can be the civil disobedience is the best way, something like that. The best way to change political ideas and stop. That's how I would make it. The civil disobedience is the best way to change political ideas because it gives the possibility to make, the extreme pole say, no, it's not the best way. There are some other ways. There are, okay. So this can feed the discussion. That's why I would encourage to make the extreme pole. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And congratulations on the work and discussion you've been doing in the groups, even if, sorry, I was so attracted by group one. I mean, and also because I wanted to follow their discussion, but I guess the rooms were all active the same. So congratulations, good starting point. So I hope you will all have the curiosity now to try debate with your students. And of course, you've got my email, so we'll be happy to read you and to answer and to, if you want to give me, tell me something about your possible experimentations, I would be happy to read you.
Oh, great. A final word from my part. I feel this interactive webinar was in many ways an experiment, and I think it was quite a successful one. So in concluding, I would like to thank our guest speaker once again for her time, her knowledge, but also all the tutors of the GRACE project for this very valuable and incredible collaboration we are building together. But most of all, I would like to thank you, all of you, for staying here so late after a full
Friday
week.
evening.
Yeah, I mean, full working week and so actively. So I'm really, and despite the virtual situation,
exactly.
So I'm truly grateful and also admired. As always, we would like to get your feedback if you want to. So you have a link in the chat for a very quick Mentimeter poll. And that's it. I just hope to see you at our next webinar, which will be on the 14th November and which will focus on democracy and climate, let's say in a more frontal way. Anyway, thanks again and have a good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity and for the invitation. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Letizia.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Cinganotto. Thank you.